it's good to be in touch with your emotions and understand them and know where they live in your body too. When you have that correlation, you can really start to be your own master.
Hello and welcome to the Weight Free Wellness Podcast. I'm Tara Bachland, and today's episode is quite special in that it was our first live recording of a podcast episode. And it was a lot of fun, and probably so much fun that I was not able to stay on track as much as usual. So if there's a little bit of meandering, now you know why. But we had a great time. My guest was Janelle Sjodin, and she is a color consultant, and she not only works with color with hair. I can give her tons of credit for my style and color, but also with the bioenergetic field and the auras with a line called Aura-Soma. You know, before I met Janelle, I really didn't have an understanding of what color therapy was about, and I'm so glad I've had this experience. And I think we've done a pretty good job of summing up what is actually really tough to describe in color therapy, and it's really fascinating. And we'll be actually featuring more of this path to health and wellness on the Weight Free Wellness podcast, that the bioenergetic field can affect your mental, emotional, even your physical health, which is important. There are many paths to health, and this is definitely one of the ones that are more subtle, but definitely still very impactful. So as far as live events, we're going to be having more live podcasts if you'd like to be informed of those, or even of Q&A discussions and being involved with guests and the other contributing podcasters. Make sure to sign up at weightfreewellness.com to the newsletter, and we'll make sure that you know. And there'll be lots more of goodies coming your way. I'm putting together some really cool stuff to thank you for being connected with us here at Weight Free Wellness. We love hearing from you and being connected with you. So make sure to give us a shout out at Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're at. We're there too, and look forward to hearing from you. So anyways, here is the first of many very intriguing podcasts to come about the bioenergetic field and even spiritual wellness and how that affects us as well. Here you go. Enjoy. All right. So we should be live now, and I am here with Janelle Sjodin, and we are talking tonight about how to get unstuck naturally. Now, that's what I call it. I had an awesome color consultation with Janelle, and you know what? I totally wish that I had had this experience years earlier, that I had known about this, because I'm sure I'm not the only one out there who has had times in their life when you just feel stuck and you don't know. Sometimes you talk to people, like you have people to talk to and you're grateful for them, but they may not get it. And this is my own experience. I'll be talking from my own experience. And Janelle will be coming on in a moment here. But, you know, sometimes you just don't know who to talk to, or you're like, this is a topic that I don't even know who to look for. Or sometimes I've had it where I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Something's going on, but I don't know what's going on. I need help getting unstuck from something. So I had an awesome color consultation with Janelle. She actually works with color in various realms, so color is totally her thing. And so I'm very excited to have this. Actually, this is our first Weight Free Wellness live podcast. And I'm so excited to do it with Janelle, a very vibrant person herself. So thank you so much for being here, Janelle.
Thank you. I'm really excited to talk color all day with you too. It's true. Color is something that I'm a hairstylist of 16 years, so I work with color every day. But not only that, always as a kid, I was always drawn to color and art and drawing. And it was something that I was just always drawn to amongst nature. And nature, you know, the pieces of nature as far as the trees, of plants, of flowers, those things just always spoke to me. And what I love about Aura-Soma is it's all those things combined. So it is color, obviously, herbs, botanicals, and crystals, another infatuation of mine, all combined into one system. And it's complex but simple, and I keep saying that because it really is simple, because it's all live energy, and it's in its own simplest, most purest form that because it's so simple and so pure, it has an effect on you, and you can feel that when you're near the bottles. And I know that you, Tara, when you were in here, you were like, wow, what is the story behind this?
Well, they're so vibrant. It's amazing. So they're lined up behind you. So of course, anyone who's watching this can see the beautiful, vibrant bottles behind you. And then if someone's listening to this afterwards, listening to the podcast recording, definitely check out the video, because you have to see these gorgeous bottles, these vibrant, I said vibrant like 10 times already. But when you told me that they're actually from natural sources, I was astounded. I mean, they look like someone has put food dye. So maybe it's for people who aren't seeing this afterwards. They're like little glass bottles. They're square-ish shaped, and they're divided. Like there's a water-based and an oil-based liquid. And they're just, how many are there? There's over 100, aren't there?
115 bottles total. Yeah.
115, and they're all different colors. So a color may be one color on the top and then a different color on the bottom. It might be a solid color, but they mix, they separate, they mix. It's so amazing.
Yeah, the reason that how there's two different colors is because it's literally oil and water. So when oil and water split, it divides, and so the color divides. But when you shake it, it shakes to a different color. So it's cool how it all came together, and the story behind it I wanted to get into, because it really will give you a better understanding of what Aura-Soma is. And it was developed by a woman named Vicky Wall in England. And Vicky Wall grew up in a quite large family, and she was able to see auras. Obviously Aura-Soma is in the name of the system. And aura is, the bioenergetic field, everything that kind of happens outside of our physical body. She could see those colors in people. But she was told as a young girl to not talk about that. Her father told her to just keep it contained, because he had that gift too, and it just wasn't really accepted then. So she kind of kept it contained. And her father was an herbalist, and he knew everything about plants, botanicals, and how to use them to make concoctions. And so she learned a lot of her knowledge from her father growing up. So moving forward, she is an apothecary herbalist, and she starts to make these concoctions, these creams, lotions, all these different things. And she would bring these concoctions to conventions, and she would sell those there. But in the meantime, while she's doing that, she started getting these messages to split water, and she didn't know what that meant. She was just getting this message to split water. And then in the middle of the night, one night, through her hands, but not of hers, she said, she made her first bottle, and she didn't know what it was, but she figured out you split water with oil and water. So she did that, and she wasn't sure what it was, but she knew that the splitting of the water thing, she had that down. So she made a few bottles, and she brought those to her conventions, along with her other lotions. And what she noticed was people were walking by, and they weren't drawn to the lotions. They were drawn to these jewels, these bottles that are behind. And they were so intrigued, and they wanted to buy those, but they didn't know why. But the correlation that Vicky well saw is because she could see auras. And at this point in her life, kind of longer story, she was actually blind, but she could see auras still. So she could see the correlation of the person that was coming up, picking that specific bottle, and the energies in their auras that was similar to the bottles. So then she knew that this system that she was to make had to do with the energy field and auras, and the traumas that happened in life. You can see when there's a trauma in the aura, there's a fragment in it. There's like a pot mark, she said, in people's auras when there was trauma. So those energies would actually leave your aura field, and she could see that. And she could also see that correlation of the bottles that they were picking through that. So that was part of developing what Aura-Soma is in the long run.
It's such a brief summary. It sounds like it's just amazing. And as I learn more and more about it, it actually gives me the chills right now. And I don't think that's just because it's chilly in the room that I'm in. So how did you learn about Aura-Soma?
How I learned about it was, sometimes it's kind of hard to even explain it, but it landed in my lap. I was in a class, and in a class was, I think it was in the fall, and Tara was in the same class, and that's how, ironically, we met each other. In this class, somebody had mentioned Aura-Soma, and I was curious about that. So I looked into it and found out that it was everything that I absolutely love, as far as oils, herbs, botanicals, colors, and crystals, all combined in one system. So I knew when I saw that I had to look into it more. And I did. And then life happened, and it was a couple of days later, and I was waiting in line for an event. And there was this woman behind me, and she might be on watching. Her name's Lindsay Dietrich. And she and I started talking, and what I found out was that she is an Aura-Soma practitioner as well. And it was 2 days after I had stumbled upon what Aura-Soma was. So when that happened, I took it as a sign that I had to go and learn all about this. And I did. I literally went home, booked a ticket for 2 weeks later, and went to Texas and got trained to do it. So that's kind of the short story, the long story of how I came to bring Aura-Soma into my life and my business.
Is you have to take it as a message when things just line up like that, when it lands in your lap, and then you see it again, and you have those experiences. So when did you first go for your first Aura-Soma experience?
Right then, I was talking to Lindsay, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's an Aura-Soma practitioner, which happens to be in my hometown too, where I grew up. So there's another flag that I was supposed to pay attention to that. So she said, maybe you should actually have a consult first before you go and do all this. So then I literally went down, I think that next week, and had my first consult, and I was just blown away from it. From what my consult was, and how it was so aligned, and the experience that you have when you're doing your consult, or when you're receiving the information and you're choosing the bottles yourself, it really resonates with you. It's something that you feel on the inside. And that's what I love about the system, is because it really gives you an experience, and it creates a feeling, a resonance that you can feel in your body when you are picking the bottles. Not only that, but then when I'm telling you what the colors mean to you, it really makes you feel something in your body. It triggers something, and it just feels like truth. So, and I have that experience with the clients that have come in. They all are moved by the consult. So I love that.
It was certainly I believe in this stuff. I have had a lot of intuitive training and experiences. And so it's not something that I have to be convinced of, but I'm always amazed. I'm always amazed by how these things show up. We choose what's right, our intuition. When we have that trust too, that we're choosing what's right. And here's what I love about Aura-Soma is that I've done all kinds of consultations, but you're always counting on that practitioner to be on their game. Most any kind of other consultation, I'm not putting them down. I'm noting a difference is that most other consultations, you're hoping that person is totally spot on. They've had a great breakfast. They didn't have a fight with their significant other. Their dog didn't run out the door just as they were trying to go out the door that day. Or my cat almost did that today too when the UPS showed up. And so you're counting on them to be totally ready. But with Aura-Soma, you're the one choosing. You ask a series of 4 simple questions, and you had me, I'll put myself in here because I was there. You had me choose a bottle, and it was totally spot on. I mean, there was even one, you're like, this one has something to do with technology. I don't remember the whole scenario, but I was like, you've got to be making that up because it was astounding. And I don't remember which one that was for. It was something like...
That was your soul bottle, your first pick. Yep.
My soul bottle. So what does that mean to be choosing your soul bottle?
So your soul bottle is, well, there's a 4-bottle pick, and the soul bottle is your first pick. I ask a question and then you pick the bottle though, and that it just zones you in on the right bottle for you. And what the soul bottle is it really, it's the energies that you chose to bring into this life, that you chose to embody and chose to bring to the world. So your soul bottle was this one right here. I have them here. So you have, it's the new messenger, and it's got the violet and the turquoise. So those are the energies that Tara chose to embody and chose to bring to herself and to the world. And it's so spot on for her, because what this bottle is saying, because it's the violet and the turquoise, is that she's to be of service through communicating. I mean, that is her energies. That is who she is. Creative communication through technology, and using technology to reach the masses, to transform and to be of service. So it's literally everything that she's doing. So
it is astounding. Like I actually chose the colors based on, I had my eyes closed. I have to make sure that my screen's going back and forth here. I'm like rubbing my belly and patting my head at the same time. I actually didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my brain to choose with my eyes, because I'm too cerebral. I knew that I would end up thinking about it too much. And so I'm going to have you speak up a little bit more, because when we switch over, it looks like we're not switching over as much. So we're good now, but just a note. So yeah, I tend to think really too heavily. And so I didn't trust myself to choose based upon colors, because I'm like, oh, pretty color, I want that one. Or just, having a background and understanding chakras and so forth. I didn't want to overthink it too. Like, oh, I would just overthink it. So I put my hands up, and I tend to be I can kinesthetically feel energies and so forth. And so, but it was like my brain switched off, made the switch and said, okay, you have to like feel for it. Cause like I can feel like if I'm massaging someone, where the areas need to be worked. And what's amazing, that first bottle, those are like my favorite colors, like the beautiful blue and the violet. And when you said too, that it had something to do with technology, communicating with technology, that was the one, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that is so crazy, because I fought for so long to use technology to relay the message of health and wellness. I just wanted to be like a practitioner that could use my hands, using those tactile senses. And so when you said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is such a message.
Yeah, the message in the bottle.
Right.
Literally, each bottle has its own specific characteristics and message within it, and it really hits home with people. I mean, just like you said, you had an experience and a feeling like, wow. And that's absolutely what I love about this, because it brings the experience back to you. And the best part about it is you chose that bottle. I didn't tell you these things, and this is what I love, because a lot of people, they go to other people for answers, and they're always giving their power away to another source to tell them what's going on with them. And really, we have all the answers within. We have absolutely everything that we need to know within us. And it's just learning to tune in and trust that again. And Aura-Soma gives you that experience to start trusting that you did have all those answers. You do know where you're at in your life and what's preventing you from getting to where you need to be, just because you chose them. So it's kind of really empowering for people that way, to get a sense that they really do have the answers. And then the feeling of picking the bottles, and how people are really drawn to something, and they're I watch them as they're doing it, and you can just see them get drawn into the bottle. So that is literally how it works, because it's an energy exchange, because we're more than just our physical body. We have a lot of things going on in outside of our arms here, and that's that bioenergetic magnetic field that is constantly we're constantly using it every day. You know, it's like the wind, you know, you feel that come, you don't see it, but you know it's there because you can feel it. And that's really our way of using our senses that way. It's a feeling that we get. So if you're in a room and you notice a person that's really light and airy and fun, you're attracted to that person, you want to know more about them. And a lot of times we know that before they even introduce themselves. It's something you pick up on them. So that is that in between, that something that we can't name or see. Some people can see, but it's literally there. And that's the world I like to live in and figure out.
Well, like you said, it's a great exercise, you know, for someone who isn't as familiar. What a great way, a fun way to start to tune in with your intuition, get the experience that we're connected like that. And it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. It's a playtime, you know, it's about being curious and just playing and bringing that back into your life. And Aura-Soma is a really great, safe place to do that. And then you get the confirmation of it from the bottles that you pick. So it gives you, gets you to trust your intuition, which so many people don't do. We live up here instead of in our hearts. And it starts to bring you back to that and realizing how powerful that is to live by making decisions from here and not up here.
So even as we were talking about this, and I was very curious to begin with, but it's really challenging to describe what this is.
It is.
And we were talking about even different ways to choose the bottles because so many of us are in our heads. And for me, it was really natural to put up my hand and feel which ones, but what are some other ways that people can choose the bottles? Because you don't have to actually be there to choose them either, do you?
No, you can do it over the phone. I can do phone consults too. You don't have to be there because you can either choose visually and, you know, there'll be a color that'll jump to you and you go that way. You can do like you did by feeling. You just did your hands over the bottles, and that was really cool and fun to see you just take charge that way and trust your body that that's the way you wanted to do it. You can close your eyes. You can pick a row and then, you know, row 4, 6 bottle over. I mean, I do that a lot. Or you can, let me think other ways. There's so many ways that you could do it. You could just pick numbers too, because it's 0 to 114. So you could just pick all number 64 and you could go that way too. And it all works. It all works. And that's the point that I like to drive home, is that there's no wrong way and there's no wrong answer. There's no wrong bottle. It's just color. There's no good or bad in what you choose. There's no good or bad in the results that you get. It just is what it is, and just accept it and trust what you pick.
It's a great way to tap into your intuition. There are a lot of ways to do it. I've been trained in remote viewing, which is a real scientific and methodic way of training your intuition. So which made me very confident, you know, which made my hands almost go right up to the bottles and pick which one. But I would imagine that it's a very comfortable way. And even like, if you could spend the day practicing and just picking up different bottles and like feeling what they mean, very good. I'm sure a lot of empaths are drawn to using Aura-Soma or having an Aura-Soma consultation, like people who can really feel the energies around them, take on emotions from other people who are much more sensitive to these things.
Yeah, I mean, Aura-Soma is all about feelings. So, because each color, and it has to do, we haven't really even tapped into it, but it really does have to do with the chakra system and where that lands in your body and where the colors land in your body, and how each color corresponds to a certain emotion or a certain situation and where that lives in your body. So it gives you a sense to start tuning into your body, start listening to where those feelings live in your body, so that you can start decoding what's going on, where it lives. So anyone that is overwhelmed, like you said, empaths that are always feeling or trying to get some guidance because they feel so much. I mean, Aura-Soma is definitely the way to go. It really helps narrow down, because it can be really overwhelming to know where to start a lot of times. And this, your inner self, your higher self, knows all the answers, and it knows the best place for you to start. So you don't have to worry about all this other stuff that you know you need to do. You just need to start here and focus, and then you can actually make momentum moving forward.
So you brought up a great word, focus, which is hard to do talking about something that's so fun and expansive, but I'm going to try. So let's go through, would it make sense? What do people use? Now, I talked about becoming unstuck, and I'll probably at some point share, what I got out of my using the Aura-Soma. But what do people usually come in with? Do they have specific things? Because with Weight-Free Wellness, we talk about, the different aspects of wellness that you can have a health shift, a wellness shift from all kinds of things. And this is definitely what would seem the most subtle, but can be so impactful. So do people usually come in saying, I'm feeling this, I need to get past this? Or why do people usually come in?
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of, I'm feeling this certain thing and I don't know what it is. I have this thing in my life that I know I need to get over, and I don't know how, and I'm clinging to it, and you got your grip on it. I need some help where to start to get past this, because I am just stuck in this pattern. Or sometimes it's maybe not that intense, and it's just, I just want to know more about myself. I want to practice my intuition. I'm just curious. I don't know, and I just want to know what this is about, and I'm curious to see what would come up. So there's all kinds of different reasons why people would come in, and there's really no right or wrong. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's fun. I do it every day. I do a bottle pick for myself every day, and it's just because it's fun. Mm-hmm. So it's a real playful thing too. It doesn't have to be like this, I gotta go and see what's wrong with me, and it's not. I don't look at it that way. I look at it in a more playful way.
Yeah. And definitely when I came in to see you, it was definitely in a playful manner. And it's interesting, because a lot of times, especially in our society, we're programmed to go see someone when we have an issue, right? And so to come in and just a fun spirit and think, well, let's see what comes up. I remember you saying at the beginning, you're like, now, it may not make sense at first what the bottle is about, but it will reveal itself later. And it so totally did. So maybe going back to, so you do you give 4 questions, and it represents a different aspect of yourself, right?
Yes. Yeah, there's 4 different questions, and I like the questions because it helps you really focus in on the specific things. Otherwise, it can kind of be all over the place. So it helps you zone in making your choice. The first bottle is going to represent your soul bottle. The second bottle is going to be your gifts and challenges bottle. And then your third bottle is the here and now. And the last one is the future gift. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? Basically what it is it's a screenshot of you. It's a story of you. And it tells you about who you are, what you are to bring to this world, and the energies that your inner self wants you to honor and bring into the world. And then it highlights a pattern that is living in the unconscious, because this has a lot to do with bringing things that are living in the unconscious that we're not aware of to the surface. So that second bottle is going to help you narrow in on a pattern that's wanting to be recognized so that you can start to move through it. So when there's something that's in our unconscious self, it's a loop, a pattern that keeps going over and over, but we're not catching it. It's not in our conscious, mental, emotional field. So it keeps repeating and repeating, and it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger until you actually acknowledge it. So the second bottle is going to help you pinpoint an area to work on so that you can start being more conscious of it by using that bottle every day. It's going to bring those energies into your emotional mental field so you can be aware of that pattern and then change it. So that's what the second bottle does. The third bottle tells you what you're doing here and now at this point in time in your life. And then the last bottle is the future gift. So it's a gift that you can have eventually, or you can have it today. It's going to be energies that are going to come in and help you move through your second bottle.
So let's review my bottles, because they were so on.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it, is to really talk about someone else's experience. It'll make more sense that way.
Yeah. So the first one we covered a bit, but let's review the first one.
Yeah. So the first bottle you had was this soul bottle, was your soul bottle. And this is I've got my sheet here. I have all my numbers down. That one is the new messenger, number 49. And it's violet and turquoise on the top. And
you want to make sure you have papers on the computer is brushing the speakers.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Beautiful colors.
Yes, very beautiful. And that again is your soul bottle. So those are the energies that it's who you are. It's what you chose to bring to this earth. So that is the communicator through the masses to be of service for the betterment of the world, which is absolutely who you are all the way.
Yeah. It was like a spot on. I was even wearing that color blue that day.
You were.
And it's so amazing, because I have to say again, I had my eyes closed when I was choosing these. It's like they totally chose me. It was totally on. Yeah. And it's interesting too. So you've mentioned before that these correlate with numerology also. And in my numerology chart, I also have the communication numbers. And that bottle actually breaks down to my life path number as well. So there's a number of interesting corollaries.
All connected. That's where the complex part of Aura-Soma is, where it's so vast and you can go deeper and deeper and deeper, but we'll keep it basic.
Yeah.
Here forever. But there's so many levels to it. It's numerology, astrology, color, chakras, energy. I mean, there's a lot to it.
So that's my soul energy essentially at that time.
Yes. And then we move into your next bottle, which is the gift and challenges bottle. And that is the pale pink on the bottom. Or I'm sorry, no, it's just pink and clear on the top. And that bottle, it tells you that there's a gift in it. And the potential gift is really to find clarity through self-acceptance and just self-love. And then therefore you can be more compassionate to the world. The challenge is exactly the opposite. So learning to be more compassionate towards yourself, to give yourself more love, not be so hard on yourself. And when you do those things, you will find that you won't have the suffering in your life. You'll have more clarity so that you can, start to embrace compassion for yourself. And then that's part of your message too. I love how it all ties in. It's part of your message is self-compassion. Mm-hmm. So it's really getting to those last layers of those pieces of learning how to give yourself love and be kind to yourself so that you can better teach that part of your message.
I don't want to interrupt too much. I think I'm going to let you keep going and then share my ahas afterwards. Does that sound good?
Yep. So your next bottle was the number 0, the spiritual rescue, and that's deep magenta and royal blue. And what that one is really telling you that, it's being part of the creative process and really trusting your intuition and then communicating that. It's called the spiritual rescue bottle. So it's really helping you rescue that spirituality and, being able to use that in your life and communicate with that and be creative with that. So I'll just leave that simple and we'll keep going.
It still had a lot of messages in it. I mean, it was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I could keep going. There's more in depth to it, but we'll just kind of hit on the basics.
Yeah.
And that is the here and now. So that here and now is saying that's what you're doing at this point in your life. This is what you're doing really well, is you're starting to really embrace your spirituality and you're starting to be able to communicate with that and trust that. So that's what you're doing at this point in your life. And then your last bottle is the future gift. And this is the heart and Atlantean bottle, and it's I think it's emerald. No, it's green and blue. So that, again, you have a lot of blues. So the green is communicating from the heart. So the bottle together is basically saying you're giving yourself the space to speak from the heart and communicate from the heart and trust your heart and act on that and be creative with that. So definitely the spread is telling you to speak, to do, to communicate from the heart your message, and then through self-love. That's really how you're going to be able to really step into that, is by being very kind to yourself, so that you can start stepping into truly speaking your message and being of service.
They were so spot on in so many ways, except for the pink one. So they were all very blue, except for that pink and clear. And I was like, even when I opened my eyes, I'm like, wow, look at this. Or in the end, I was looking at the spread and I was like, wow, there's so much blue. And then there's this stark contrast of the clear and pink. And then you told me what it's for, essentially the self-compassion piece. And I'm like, but I don't understand if that's okay. Maybe I do understand that if that's what I felt for a long time, that's what I'm here to teach, overcoming my own eating disorder and a number of things where I had to learn self-compassion. I thought that I already had that message. Like, I got this down, I'm teaching it. But I think, like any great spiritual lesson, you're shown the deeper lessons, like the deeper aspects of those things. And so it was so funny, because it was before I chose that, I believe, that you said, no, now they might not make sense at first.
Yeah.
and then you
unconscious self. Yeah. It lives in the unconscious. So we're not aware of them. So sometimes they're not going to make sense.
And again, that's the beauty of having your own, and I'll say it, your own soul or your spirit pick it, rather than relying on a practitioner. Now, granted, there are amazing practitioners out there. But there's something very special about your own self choosing. And I'm talking a lot with my hands. It's so funny. So with those of you who are listening, we also do a video podcast, which I suggest you check this out, because the colors that we're talking about are behind Janelle. She's in her beautiful studio, and you have to see all the colors. So I got this, basically the self-compassion message. I'm like, okay. And then I kind of started bracing myself, like, okay, what message is going to happen as I start using this? What's going to come up? And what was interesting is that, so you use only one of those 4 bottles. You apply it to your body. Maybe let's talk about that next, about that, and then the 2 other bottles that you use for balancing.
Yes. Okay, so we go through the 4 spread, and the bottle that you're going to be taking home is only one of them, and you're going to take home the second bottle. This is the pattern that wants to be acknowledged and changed, so you can start moving into who you're meant to be, the energies that you're meant to embody. And so you're going to bring that bottle home, and you literally put that on your body, on your physical body. And that, why would you do that? Sometimes people are like, well, what's that going to do for me? Well, you got to remember that this is live energy. This is pure live energy, and we're made of energy. So there's an interaction that's happening by me just holding this. And when you're putting that on your body, it's going to start bringing those specific energies that correlate to the pattern that you need to learn. It's going to start bringing those into your emotional mental field, so that you start being aware of them, because it lives in your unconscious self. So you're going to start seeing things start to patterns that are happening. You're going to start being aware of them. And not only are you going to be aware of them, but the reason that works is because it's like the law of attraction. So whatever you put out there, you attract back. So you're literally putting these energies that are specific to certain situations in life. You're putting that on you. So those situations are going to start coming to you. You're going to start having those come into your life. So the point being is to recognize it, change the pattern, respond differently than you did in the past. So how do you do that without being triggered and getting totally, out of whack? that's where these smaller bottles come into play, because again, it has to do with the chakra system, which is the colors of the rainbow. And we want to keep you balanced so that you can feel good as you're working through this bottle that may trigger some things for you. So with you, we did a yellow, smaller yellow bottle, and then we did the Wakul, which is a green, so that we keep her spread evenly. And the pomanders, what you're going to do with those is you're going to put them literally like 4 to 5 inches outside of your body. And that's going to be your sage per se. So it's going to cleanse, clear, and purify your auric field so that you can be more emotionally stable as you're working through some of these challenges that may come into your life. So that's something that you're going to use along with the bottle that you physically put on your body. And then the quintessence are over here. And that is the highest, purest vibrations that you can use to help aid you and help you move through that bottle. And it's going to help awaken some dormant aspects of yourself so that you can use that as support to move through this second bottle, the challenge bottle.
I like that idea of balance, and it made sense to me as I went through yoga training. We talked about these energetic fields. And they're in that realm, they're called the koshas. And so you have these different energetic bodies is what they're called. And so it made sense to me that, you want to balance these aspects of yourself. And as I read about them too, I don't remember how, well, you obviously told me about them, but it made a lot of sense. Like I'm a studier, so when I read it too, it makes a lot of sense. And so, okay, I put on the clear and pink, and that's to help bring out self-compassion. I'm like, okay, God, take it easy on me, have mercy on me as I relearn more self-compassion. And then what was interesting is I learned more about the yellow, the pomander, and even looking up the word was very interesting. That pomanders were like these little balls that they wore around their belts, like a sash in like the Renaissance time, was it? Or medieval?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about that far. You'd have to, if you read about it, you'd have to tell me.
I'm a linguist, and so when I see a word that I don't know, I'm like, what does that mean? And so apparently they're like these. If I was raised Catholic, so if anyone who's Catholic out there, when they put the incense in this little ball, and like usually around Easter and so forth, they would do the blessings, and you'd smell this beautiful incense. So it's kind of like that, where they would put dried flowers. They basically use it as their deodorant. So instead of putting it under their arms, they wore it around their waist in a sash, and they were either silver or gold, depending on their wealth level, obviously. And it was a way you could decorate yourself, but also smell better as well. But you could use it not only for deodorant, but then of course there's the medicinal effects as well. And so I found that interesting that one is called pomander, which is meant to be worn just outside of the body. I mean, you do kind of apply it to your hands, and then to me, it's more like a Qigong kind of application. I would do that with essential oils, interestingly, before getting to know the Aura-Soma. And so to me, it's kind of like an auric cleansing. And what I loved reading about the yellow, forget the name of it, but it has like a citrus kind of sense. And it was more about kind of fun and levity. And to me, that really helped in a sense of understanding the balance, because for me, I can get very cerebral and get very studious, and it's easy to get super focused and kind of let that drive me into that kind of rut. And it's very helpful. I have wonderful people and critters in my life that help keep things fun and lively, and people as well. And so that one made a lot of sense. And then the green was about truth, or the higher sense of truth. And to me, because I remember you had suggested a blue. And I said, I'm just feeling green. And then you let me smell them and experience them. I'm like, yeah, this green, I really need green. And it's been very stabilizing and grounding. And it makes a lot of sense in what I'm really striving to put together with this podcast as well. And even with a program that I'm putting together, that it's I've been asked to put together a program that is about essentially weight loss and reducing your size. But I've chose the name Weight Free Wellness, or the name came to me. So I've known for quite a while that I don't want to talk about weight. Because it has this weight to it, right? And so even though I was being asked to create programs about how do I be fit, this like truth was coming through. And this is about my spread. I'm not trying to do a commercial about what I'm putting together, but it lines up so much with the spread that we did, coming from my heart. Because even being asked, will you put together a program to help people reduce size? I just felt like, but that's what I was trying to overcome. That's the journey that I went through to realize that that's not what it's about. So there's a truth aspect. There's teaching self-compassion, that it's not about working on your body, it's about working with your body. So it's just amazing how these things really line up. And even through the podcast, wanting to bring out truths about healing, a lot of it through personal stories. Yeah. So there's so many things that line up.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I love this, because for me, I've always been able to see the truth in whatever something was, be it a person or a tree or a flower or a dog. I mean, I always could see that essence of that person. That's always been a gift of mine. And this is my language. This is like, yes, that's what I see in people. That is their truth. And each person's truth looks different and feels different. And that's how the colors correlate to emotions and truth and everything. It all comes back to truth is really what it is. And each person's truth is different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I'll share my aha moment, which was, I wouldn't typically share this publicly, but now I've created a podcast and I've created this Center for Truth. So it has to come out. But it's really, this is the thing, like I came in with a really light heart, ready to just explore, and didn't really have an issue that I was trying to work on, which is kind of a blessing in a way, because you can reach a different area, I think, of your own development when you're not always just trying to address issues. It was a fun surprise. So I got the self-compassion one, which I thought I had worked through, and I was like, okay, what's going to come up here? What was interesting is that it kind of took a good week or so for it to kind of come to the surface. And my husband and I work really well together. We were talking, and I was having what seemed like issues in other areas. And I don't even remember what it was about. I don't even remember what we were talking about. But he acts really a lot like a mirror, like a truth kind of mirror to me, and is very helpful in that sense. And he finally said, after a long discussion, he's like, you just need to stop being hard on yourself, or take it easy on yourself. I don't remember which he said. And the light bulb went off. Because we had just taken a break. When you have such a long discussion that you need a break from the discussion, we had just taken a break. I came back and said, I don't know what's going on. I need some help here. I'm submitting to what you're offering. And he's like, you just need to take it easy on yourself. And that the light bulb went off. It's like, that's the point of self-compassion that I had to learn better, which was taking it easy on myself. I had so many thoughts and ideas and was pushing so hard. And frankly, what I wanted to create with this podcast and the website and so forth, that I was being too hard on myself. And when he said that, it was like the echo, like the Aura-Soma put an original message out there, and bam, it came back like that. And it was such a big aha that I was able to even work back in some other remedies that I use, flower essences and so forth, that help me to calm myself, because I tend to be very much in my head, have a lot of thoughts going on, and take some other things too that really have centered so much more since then as well.
Yeah, that's Aura-Soma. And that's where I get so excited for anyone that chooses to work with this. I want to drive home a point that your second bottle is a gift and challenge bottle. It's not, I don't want people to be afraid of doing their consults because they're afraid of what's going to come up and it's going to suck and it's going to, it's not always that way. You keep yourself balanced. You're in control of how intense it comes. Just like you had said, you say, take it easy on me. I mean, you set the intention, you set the pace, you get to choose. And so it's not always a scary thing. And there is some work you need to do, but what you just said is the beauty of the work, that aha. And it was like a lightning bolt that hits you. And that's the experience that I love, because it's like truth. And it's there and it's in front of your face and you didn't even see it before.
Yeah.
And you do. And that is what it does. It brings these aspects that we need to just switch just like that. I mean, it's literally just like that. But how long did it take you to get there? We don't know. But now you recognize it and you switched it. So then now you're starting to move forward again.
And honestly, I'd rather address it consciously like this than to have life make it happen, because I have to learn a lesson and it just whacks me upside the head without any forewarning. I think it's quite a blessing to be able to go into it with awareness.
Yes. I mean, I'd much rather do it this way than life taking over and doing it, because it will. And we've seen it happen to ourselves and to other people that just choose to ignore something, or maybe not even they're choosing, it's just they're in their unconscious, and they get smacked up the side of the head. And it can be pretty brutal sometimes that way. So I would much rather acknowledge that I'm putting this on every day and that I'm going to work through these things on my terms than, the universe taking over.
Yeah, me too, for sure. So that reminds me, so how often does someone go in and readdress these things and move on to the next bottle? And what does the second appointment or following appointments look like?
Yeah, so you want to use your bottle within a month, 3 to 4 weeks, because you want to use it every day. If you're not using it every day, you're not being consistent, you're not going to get anywhere. It's just you're not going to get the results you want. So you want to stay consistent with it, use it within a month. You can use it quicker than that if you want. But again, if you're going to say, all right, I'm going to work through this bottle in a week, be ready to also work through those issues. It could be a little more intense. So you're in control, but you can consistently keep coming in and getting your consults. And it's always going to change a little bit, because as you're claiming these aspects back into your aura field, into your energy field, and back into you, you're going to start going to the next piece. And it's going to be just plucking and putting the pieces of the puzzles of you back together. And eventually what happens is your true soul bottle will present itself, and you'll just know that when that happens, because it'll keep popping up. Or it'll just be this feeling of people get teary-eyed when they find their soul bottle. So it's something that you keep working on. And I love Aura-Soma for that, because it keeps the momentum going. It keeps you from, getting stuck again, because you're constantly being aware. It brings awareness back into your everyday life. So you're not just walking through as a robot. You're purposely knowing that you're trying to be aware of something. And so you stay in tune with yourself. You stay in tune with your body. So then you're constantly growing as a person. You can take breaks though. Like personally for me, I've done 4 in a row, and I'm like, okay, you can only work so much, and then you need to rest. It's just, that's why we have winter, we gotta take breaks, because we can't always be blooming and growing. We need to listen to our body. And I was like, okay, I need to just take a break from working on a bottle right now. So I'm taking a month off, and I'll probably start up again next week. But
yeah, it's got to be even more tempting though when you have it there with you.
Totally is, yes.
So cool. So I had so many questions and thoughts. I think I shared, another thing is that my dreams really increased. And I've always been a very dreamy person in the sense of at night, have had very active dreams, but they're much more vivid and a lot more going on. And I don't know if there's anything in particular that was really more of a message, but there's definitely more activity. So more opportunity at least to gain those insights as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of hinted towards it. It depends on the bottle. Some you don't want to use at night, but we do a lot of healing at night. We do a lot of work while we're sleeping. So I like putting my bottle on at night, and I do it in the morning. I feel like a lot of things can happen at night. You can do some work while you're sleeping. There's some that you don't want to use, like the red on red is really energizing, so it could keep you awake. But there's some that most of them are okay to do. So yeah, sleeping, I mean, you might notice those things. Everyone's different how they react to it, all their experiences, and which I love. I mean, there's just because someone doesn't have what you said doesn't mean it's wrong. I mean, theirs will be unique to them.
It's so fascinating. I don't know if I would have stumbled upon it. Well, I hadn't until I met you. So it's very cool. I truly believe that there's so many ways, there's so many paths to healing, and that there is a real, I want to emphasize that there's an importance for emotional healing. I mean, this has a lot to do with emotional and spiritual healing, which may seem like it doesn't affect us so much because it's not in the physical realm, but they're actually connected.
Oh, yes. Absolutely connected. I mean, what happens in your auric field, in your, bioenergetic field, it starts there. And then when we don't deal with these losses of energies or fragments in our aura, whatever it might be, it starts to manifest into physical. So we're absolutely connected. And then this is connected to everything else. And that's how you have an attraction to these bottles or husband or that guy that scares you over there, or why am I attracted to that? Why do I love the lake? Why do I feel at peace at the lake? I mean, we're connected to everything. And the more that you tune into that, the more that you see it and feel it, and it becomes just your reality.
And it's very easy too. I mean, some of us are more, I would say even certain cultures too are more in touch with their emotions, with certain ways of being. Some are more reserved, or maybe you grew up in a family that didn't recognize emotions so much. So it's, or there's just the spiritual aspect of it. So it's healthy to work through it. But sometimes it can be hard when you just don't know how. So to me, this seems like it would be a really good tutorial of how to work through those things too.
Yeah. It lovingly guides you. It's a process that's just very, I say lovingly because it really is. And even I think you have said you love putting on your colors every day. I mean, I do too. I actually miss that piece. I'm still using my pomanders and quins, but I miss putting on the colors every day because it feels, each time I do it, I feel like I'm bringing something back home. And it just feels like another piece of me that's complete again. And it feels like a hug. And that's my experience. So yeah, it's good. It's good to be in touch with your emotions and understand them and know where they live in your body too. When you have that correlation, you can really start to be your own master.
Yeah, totally. I've had that experience with some flower essences where, for some reason, we all have patterns, right? And so like I explained before, I have a tendency to really keep things in. And this flower essence, so it's not a part of this, and this is not meant to scare anyone, but they can bring such things to the surface that really just, I mean, when I first started taking this flower essence, which is similar in concept, it was such a relief. It was just like I could breathe again emotionally. And it was, yeah, like you said, even, I think that's a good description too, even applying the Aura-Soma is like getting a hug. And I look at it and it's what like a hug would look like. Now we're getting really fluffy, aren't we?
Oh, you can't help it. We're surrounded by emotional bottles, so it pulls it out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Now it sounds like a Minnesotan. Oh, funny. So did I miss anything important here? Because we've been all over the place. It's been tons of fun, but I want to make sure that I haven't missed anything really important.
I think we really got it. I think we have it pretty good as far as we can. I mean, there's more to it, obviously, but that's how the system works. It's an experience. I could talk to you till you're blue in the face, but until you really have your consult, that's when it really sinks in.
Well, you know I love the color blue, so you could talk me to me until I'm blue in the face.
Oh, funny.
What, how about some parting messages? Do you have something that you'd like to make sure that people take away with this?
To trust themselves. You know, I work with so many people every day. It's been a blessing as a hairstylist to really get to know people, and they really open up and share their stories to me. And the one message I could say is, you know, trust yourself. You know, don't doubt yourself so much. Don't be so hard on yourself, and really learn that how magical we are as beings, and how powerful we are, and how, you know, connected we are to everything else. And we're not a victim of our circumstances. You really, when you start taking ownership and you start looking within, you know, your life really starts to bloom and starts to happen. But you have to realize it starts with here. You know, it starts going within. And, you know, Aura-Soma is a great way to help people if they need a little, you know, hand holding as sometimes. So.
We do. We definitely do. So where are you located? I mean, where can people find you physically, but also because you can do these meetings in person and also virtually as well, correct?
Right. Yes. So I have this is my salon space. So I'm in Minnetonka off of Highway 7. At Salons by JC, 11337 Highway 7, Minnetonka, Minnesota. Otherwise, the best way to really get a hold of me would be to email me to book something. So I would have you go to www.janellesjodin at gmail.com.
So thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Weight Free Wellness podcast. I'm sure as you're thinking of this, if you made it this far, you're thinking of someone who might enjoy this podcast as well. You can forward it to them from weightfreewellness.com. You can go to your app and forward it in a message even. Just tell them that this is episode 57 and they will know which episode to go to. And if you're feeling extra sharing today, just go to iTunes, search Weight Free Wellness, and give us a 5-star rating. That really helps us to know that we're creating something of value to you, and also lets other people know that this is a great podcast to tune into. Thank you so much. We'd love to hear from you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you're at. We'd love to hear from you, and let us know what you're interested in, what you want to hear more about. Take care. Bye-bye.